They said Amaka's womb was cursed. For years she cried at night, begging the heavens for a child. But what she didn't know was that her husband carried a darker curse of his own. In secret, he offered their unborn children to the gods, trading their lives for power. Have you ever carried a pain so deep that even your own shadow mocked you? That was Amaka's life. Amaka was 29, beautiful but weary. Her braided hair, always tied in a neat bun, framed a face that carried both hope and sorrow. Married to Chike, a respected farmer with strong shoulders and a proud smile, she thought her life would be complete after their wedding. Yet, month after month, year after year, her womb remained empty. And in their small Nigerian village, where children were seen as a woman's crown, Amaka felt stripped, exposed and judged. Her neighbors whispered behind her back. Some laughed, others pitied her. But the one voice that cut deepest was her mother-in-law's. A tree without fruit is firewood. Amaka pretended not to hear. But at night, when silence wrapped the compound, she would cry into her pillow, wondering why God had forgotten her. Every morning, Amaka watched the village children run barefoot across the red earth, their laughter rising like music. She imagined what her child's voice might sound like, soft, innocent, calling her Mama. But that voice never came. Instead came whispers, from neighbors, from mothers who pitied her, from friends who became strangers. 10 years and not even a miscarriage? Surely her womb is cursed. The words cut deeper than knives. At night, Amaka lay awake beside her husband, his back always turned. She wondered if she had failed not only him, but God himself. Then, one market day, an old woman with wrinkled skin and sharp eyes stopped Amaka. Her voice was low, almost a hiss. Childless, go to the sacred stream. The water mothers those who are forgotten. If your tears are true, it will answer you. Amaka's heart pounded. Was this madness, or was it her last hope? That night she could not sleep. She stared at the moon, pale and unblinking, as if it too mocked her barren womb. Finally, she rose, wrapped her wrapper tightly, and began the lonely walk to the stream. But Amaka had no idea that the solution she was about to embrace carried a price far greater than her pain. They said the stream was older than memory itself, a place where mothers once whispered their deepest secrets to the water. That night, under the pale glow of the moon, Amaka walked barefoot along the narrow path. The crickets sang, the wind carried a strange chill, but inside her chest, her heart pounded louder than the night. Her wrapper clung to her body with sweat, though the air was cold. She carried no lamp, only her trembling faith. With each step, she remembered the mocking voices of women in the market. Our tree without fruit is only firewood, they had laughed. Each insult had driven her here, to this very moment. When she reached the stream, the water was still, too still, as though it had been waiting for her. Amaka fell to her knees, her voice breaking into sobs. She poured out her grief, her barren years, her endless longing. Tears rolled from her face and dropped into the water, and the stream swallowed them like a thirsty beast. Then it happened. The water rippled, though no wind stirred. A faint glow spread across its surface, shimmering like liquid silver. Amaka froze, her body shaking. A low hum rose, soft at first, then stronger, like 100 unseen voices chanting beneath the water. And then she heard it. A voice, deep yet tender, called her name. Amaka. Her heart nearly stopped. She clutched her chest. The stream was speaking. The voice whispered, "You long for a child. I can give you one. But remember, every gift carries a debt." Amaka's tears mixed with the stream. Her lips trembled, but she nodded, whispering, "Yes, yes, even if it costs me my life." The stream rippled violently, pulling her reflection apart, then silence. And a whisper drifted through the night. "Your womb is open." Amaka gasped, clutching her stomach, her body shaking as though something unseen had just entered her. She looked into the water, and for a brief moment, she saw the faint outline of a child smiling back at her before vanishing into the ripples. The night swallowed her scream. For the first time in 10 years, Amaka woke with a smile. The sun's rays touched her face, and instead of dread, she felt a strange warmth blooming in her belly. It was small at first, just a flutter, but she knew. Oh, she knew. Her barren days were over. Days turned into weeks, and her body began to change. The women in the market who once mocked her now gawked in silence as they saw her swelling stomach. Whispers turned into envy. Some marveled, others muttered curses, but Amaka no longer cared. She walked with her head high, her hand always resting on her belly, her secret treasure. At night, she would dream of a child's laughter. She would see tiny feet running across their compound. The dreams felt real, too real, as if the stream itself was showing her a future waiting to unfold. But her husband, Chike, his joy was strange. At first, he danced around her, shouting to the heavens that his shame had ended. Yet, Amaka noticed something in his eyes, something cold, calculating. At night, she would catch him watching her stomach, not with tenderness, but with a hunger that made her shiver. Still, Amaka chose to ignore it. Hope was stronger than fear. When she placed her hand on her stomach, she could feel life kicking strong and steady. It was as if the child was assuring her, "Mama, I am here." Her joy was so overwhelming that she didn't notice the shadows moving closer around her. She didn't see the way her husband disappeared late into the night, whispering to strangers in dark corners. All she knew was that her belly carried her miracle, and she would do anything to protect it. But Amaka did not yet know that the very man she loved was preparing a betrayal so dark it would shatter everything she held dear. The night was thick with silence, broken only by the steady chirping of crickets. Amaka lay on her raffia mat, one hand over her belly, humming softly to the life within her. But her husband, Chike, was nowhere to be found. Again. At first she told herself he was working late, or perhaps sitting with the elders, but the truth crashed at her heart like thorns. For weeks, his footsteps had grown heavier, his eyes darker, his smile forced. He no longer touched her belly with joy. He no longer called her Ne. Instead, he looked at her as if she was a vessel, nothing more. One night, curiosity overpowered fear. Amaka wrapped a shawl tightly over her shoulders and followed Chike from a distance. He moved like a thief, slipping between shadows until he disappeared into the thick forest path that led to an old shrine, one she had always been warned never to approach. Her heart pounded in her throat. The moonlight dimmed as if the heavens themselves were hiding from what was about to unfold. She crept closer, her bare feet sinking into the damp earth, until she saw him. Chike was kneeling before a figure cloaked in red, the priest of the Forbidden Grove. Flames from a calabash fire danced between them, casting monstrous shadows on the trees. "Great One," Chike's voice trembled, "I bring my unborn child as promised. Grant me wealth, power, and the strength of many men." Amaka's stomach clenched. She nearly screamed, but her voice caught in her throat. Her knees weakened. The priest leaned forward, his eyes glowing like dying embers. "A life for a life. When the blood is ripe, it shall be taken. Do not fail us, or the curse will claim you instead." Chike bowed, pressing his forehead into the dirt. Amaka's body shook uncontrollably. Her husband, the man she trusted with her soul, had bargained their unborn child for riches. She clasped her mouth with both hands to stifle her sob. Her breath came in shallow gasps, and in that terrible moment, she realized that the enemy she feared most was sleeping in her bed. Amaka could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the red glow of the priest's fire and heard her husband's voice offering up their unborn child. She lay beside Chike that night, her back stiff, her eyes wide open in the darkness. His breathing was heavy, calm, like a man at peace. But to Amaka, every breath sounded like the hiss of a serpent. The warmth she once found in his presence had turned to ice. By day, she carried her belly proudly, but inside she trembled. At the market, the women now smiled at her, praising her glow, asking about the child. She forced a smile in return, but every word felt like a lie. How could she tell anyone that the man who was supposed to protect her had already signed away their child's fate? The weight of fear pressed down heavier with each passing day. When Chike's hand lingered too long on her stomach, she felt her skin crawl. Was he feeling his child, or was he checking the ripeness of his sacrifice? One evening, while pounding yam, Amaka's hands trembled so badly she almost dropped the pestle. She imagined her baby's tiny fingers wrapping around hers, the sweet giggle she heard in her dreams. "No one will take you," she whispered to her belly, tears streaming down her face. "Not even your father." But fear alone could not protect her. She needed a plan. Her thoughts ran wild. Should she run away? But where? How could she hide from both her husband and the dark powers he had sworn allegiance to? Her unborn child kicked suddenly, a strong, almost defiant push, as if to remind her that life itself was inside her. It gave her strength. That night, Amaka made a silent vow. She would fight. Whatever it took, whatever danger she faced, she would not allow her child to be taken. But in the stillness of the night, a whisper echoed from the shadows outside their huts, a voice that wasn't human, a voice that knew her secret. The whisper in the night grew louder. Amaka froze, clutching her shawl tight around her trembling body. She stepped cautiously toward the doorway of the hut. The moonlight spilled over the compound, casting long shadows on the ground. Then she heard it again, low, eerie, and unmistakable. "Protect the child. The stream is waiting." Her heart raced. She spun around, but no one was there. The night air pressed heavy on her skin. Was she losing her mind, or was the river spirit calling her once more? Chike stirred inside the hut. "Amaka," his voice cut through the silence, sharp and suspicious. "Why are you awake?" Her breath hitched. She turned slowly, forcing a smile. I could not sleep." His eyes narrowed, studying her face as though he could see the storm raging within her. But then, with a grunt, he lay back down, his snores returning within minutes. Amaka's chest heaved. That night she decided she could no longer wait. She had to act before her husband delivered her child into the hands of darkness. The next day, she carried her calabash to the river, under the pretense of fetching water. But unlike before, her steps were heavy with urgency. The stream sparkled brighter than ever, its rippling waters whispering secrets only she could hear. She fell to her knees at the bank, tears soaking her cheeks. "Spirit of the river, I beg you, save my child. Give me strength to fight against this evil. I cannot do this alone." The water shimmered, rising slightly, as though stirred by an unseen hand. A soft, melodious voice echoed in her mind. "Daughter, the battle is not of flesh alone. When the time comes, call upon me. But beware, the one you love most will turn against you." Before Amaka could respond, the trees rustled violently. She turned, and there was Chike, standing behind her, his face twisted with rage. Amaka, he spat, his voice thick with venom. So you know. Her blood ran cold. The truth was out. Amaka's knees weakened at the sight of her husband's rage. The man she had once loved now looked like a stranger, his eyes glowing faintly as though possessed by the darkness he had embraced. "You dare go against me?" Chike roared, his fists clenched. "Do you know how many nights I bled for this power? Do you know how many sacrifices I've made? This child is not yours. It is mine to give." Amaka staggered back, clutching her belly as though her arms alone could shield her unborn child. "Chike," her voice trembled, yet a fire burned in it. "This baby is not for you. This baby is life itself. You will not take it from me." The ground beneath them quaked. The stream behind her began to swirl violently, waves rising as if answering Amaka's defiance. The whispering voice grew louder, filling the air. "Call upon me." Chike charged toward her, but Amaka raised her hand and screamed from the depths of her soul, "Spirit of the river, help me!" In an instant, a column of water burst from the stream, wrapping around Chike like a serpent. He struggled, clawing at the watery coils, his screams echoing into the forest. But the spirit's voice thundered, "The blood of innocence is not yours to claim." Amaka collapsed to her knees, tears streaming, as her husband's form was dragged into the depths of the river, his cries swallowed by the rushing current. Silence fell. The air grew still. Amaka's body shook, not from fear, but from relief. She cradled her belly, whispering through sobs, "You are safe, my child, you are safe." The moonlight broke through the clouds, bathing her in silver light. In that moment, Amaka felt something new: strength, resilience, and hope. She had faced darkness and won. Months later, the cries of a newborn filled her heart. Her son, small and fragile, rested in her arms. The same stream that once heard her cries now sang softly in the distance, as though blessing the child with every ripple. Amaka had lost much, but she had gained everything that mattered: a mother's love, a child's life, a future unchained from evil. And to you listening now, remember this: no matter how heavy the darkness, light will always find a way to break through. If this story touched your heart, make sure you subscribe now so you don't miss more powerful African folk tales like this one. Each story carries a lesson, a truth, a spark of hope, and the next one might be exactly what your soul needs.